So the question with Star Trek Picard Season 3 is, and Season 1, 2, and 3, really, I will never watch Seasons 1, 2, and 3 again personally, so that's on, you guys, because I'll never watch those again, but I think Captain Shaw is probably the best new character that we've added to Star Trek. I don't think, Soji and all the other people, they never really worked well. Laris was all right, sort of, but it's just nobody was good, really, to me. It was all so terrible. And even though I don't love Captain Shaw the way other people are, like, in love with Shaw. They're like, we love Captain Shaw. I think Captain Shaw's not the greatest captain. He's kind of imperfect. He's got problems. He's kind of weird. You know what I mean? I almost feel like he's mentally unstable to be captain. I've said that since the beginning. And then even Vatic said that in the episode, like, your mental whatever state. And it was like, should this guy really be a captain? But he's so likable that you, like, accept it anyway. Like, and that's what I do. I kind of accept it, even though normally I would not like this type of captain. I wouldn't even believe it, to be honest. So he's borderline for me, but he's so likable. My wife likes him too. I thought she might actually think that, yeah, it's ridiculous, but she actually likes him too. So Captain Shaw is probably the best new character. And that's why a lot of people are building this whole Star Trek Legacy show. I don't know if I am behind that 100%. I'd like to see other new characters, but I would like to still see Shaw, but because I really like him. I think Todd Stashwick is great. And this is the best new character that we've gotten. Now, tonight at midnight for some of you and 3 a.m. for us East Coasters will be episode 9. And it's going to be hard for people to go to bed tonight on the East Coast despite 3 a.m. I think there's going to be a lot of work call-outs tomorrow because this is, it's going to be hard. But speaking of episode 9, we'll get to that in a second. But first, check this out. A wireless Bluetooth speaker by Fame Tech. This thing is awesome. It makes the torpedo sounds. It makes phaser sounds. It plays the music. It plays the Star Trek Enterprise hum for 60 minutes. If you click the button, it's awesome. And right now, there's a special on my Amazon link. You can find that in the comment section below, pinned to the top of my comment section. It is awesome. I'm telling you, man, this is a must-have Bluetooth speaker. You can play music, play anything you want through it. But it's also just really fun. I love that thing. So I was so excited about that. It just looks great. My only downside to it is the bottom. They didn't finish off the bottom of it, so you want to display the top of it. But I really liked it. I needed a Bluetooth speaker, and for something I thought it was going to be, and you go out and you buy Bluetooth speakers. Have you guys seen how much Bluetooth speakers some of them are? Some of them are like $300 right now, just little ones, $200, $300. So I was looking for stuff under $80, and I found that and was like, wow, it's the Enterprise deal. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna get that. But anyway, so yeah, Todd Stashwick, great job. This is the best new character to me, besides Vatic. He really has been great, even though he's unstable and he does bounce around a bit in the show. From like, oh, don't do this to let's just do it. Okay, there are some things about it that aren't fully that there's issues, but he is. I think of any of the new characters in season 1 and 2 and season 3, Captain Shaw is the best. I don't think somebody else is better, And regarding some other stuff, whether or not some people are worried that we're not going to find out what's behind that door in this episode either. I gotta believe we are, because the last episode ended with, Deanna, and him standing there. And so I gotta believe that this episode we're going to find out what's really there. We are going to find out. I can't imagine. Someone said they're not going to find out again. It's going to be episode 10. This is already long enough that we've waited to figure out what's going on here. I just can't see them holding it off again. Also, somebody said, what's your favorite episode? This is on Twitter. Someone said, what's your favorite episode of Enterprise? They're trying to get into Enterprise, and they were like, what's your favorite episode? What do you, I think one of my favorite episodes that got me into it a lot was Carbon Creek. I think Carbon Creek is just an awesome episode. I love that episode. And I think there's a lot of good episodes. I like Star Trek Enterprise. And, I would say that in the year 2001 or so, 2001 to 2002 or so, I started really getting back into Star Trek again. I had taken a few years off. I think that when I was a kid, and I'm talking about the earliest I could remember, 3 to 4 years of age, probably 4 years old. It was the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation around 1997, and I got into Star Trek from that point on, and I think my father died. He missed the last season of TNG, and I think I was so pumped to find out that Star Trek: The Next Generation was getting movies. I was so excited for the movies. That was a huge thing to go see those movies. And at that point, I had seen all the original movies, and I loved the original movies back in the day, and I was such a Star Trek fan. But I would say probably around 1998, I would say around the year 1998, I sort of stopped watching Star Trek quite a bit. I would say 98, 99, and 2000, I almost wasn't watching Star Trek anymore. And in fact, I went to the movie theater to see Star Trek Insurrection, which was in 1998, and I was with a couple of friends, and one of my friends is a Star Trek fan, and the other one wasn't, and he was so bored by that movie, he was like, what is this? And we felt bad, but also we were getting kind of bored in the movie theater, and we left the movie theater, and we went and watched The Faculty. We actually left a Star Trek movie to see The Faculty. It was crazy. Now, I would go back and watch Insurrection in the theater on my own, and I enjoyed it. But I almost felt embarrassed watching it with him there. I think that me and my buddy felt that way. And we were like, yeah, we feel bad. This ain't the best thing for you to have to watch. You don't even, it was such a plain story of, that'd been done in the episodes already. If it had been First Contact with the Borg, I think he would have sat through that. I think we all would have obviously sat through that because we did. But, I mean, he would have, he could have grasped that. But he just couldn't grasp Insurrection, and I think we were bored. So at that point, I took a bit of a break from Star Trek, not really knowing it, but I did. I was more into music and girls and high school and crazy. But around 12th grade, I would say 12th grade, it was 2002 and 2003 for me, I began to miss Star Trek. And one of the things that I loved doing at that time, and you guys will remember this if you're, 30 years old or younger, or older rather, was that, all the stores had all the DVDs. Do you guys remember all the box sets that some stores still have now? But all the stores had them, and it was such a big thing. DVDs and DVD box sets were huge. And I remember when you don't have a lot of money, I used to dream of the box sets. And I remember in the 90s, I used to dream of the VHS collections. They had those big tape libraries of all Star Trek, The Next Generation. I never got to get those. I always had to either see it on TV or I had to tape it or something like that in the 90s. Because my mother and people, they weren't going to order the VHS collection through a magazine or whatever for me. But I always wished I had the entire collection. And this is funny because this is something the kids and people, none of us really deal with anymore. You know what I mean? Like in the early 90s, and all of the 90s really, there was a problem with, if you wanted to see an entire series, you either had to have had videotaped it or found a VHS collection somewhere. And they were hundreds of dollars, And so, this in the stores around the year 2002 and 2003, a lot of the Star Trek: The Next Generation DVD box sets you could pick them up for less than $150, which is originally they were all like $150. or $100. And you could find them in like Newberry Comics or videotape stores or CD stores and outlets like that, where they had them for like $69.99 or $89.99. And, you know, I would blow money from my job where I worked. So in 2002, I all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I miss Star Trek. I miss The Next Generation. I haven't watched the series since, you know, probably 1997 and 6 and 5 when I would watch it on TV or watch First Contact. I had First Contact on VHS. And I think first I started with the movies. You know, they had re-released the movies on DVD, the director's cuts with all those bonus features and stuff in the year 2001 or so, 2002 maybe, and I loved those. I was obsessed with those, and then I was like, I'm going to watch all The Next Generation, and so I did. I would save up money from my job, and I think I bought, you know, season 6 or something of The Next Generation. And I would binge watch them, plop another DVD in. They have like 4 episodes on each DVD. You put the DVD in, watch 4 episodes. You put another one, and you just binge it. And you go, man, I want to watch more. I'm going to go get season 1 and start from the beginning. And you go to the store, and you get season 1. And then you go to the store again, and you get season 2. And I have all these still to this day from when I was going through this period of time. And at the time, it was the year 2001 and 2, and I was playing Halo. I was playing the hell out of Halo 2 and Halo 1. And I was having a blast, man. Video games and just working a stupid job just to make enough money to buy stupid stuff, you know, and living at my mother's house. And I was completely being a loser at the time, you know what I mean? It was such a loser. But, you know, I appreciated that time period because it allowed me to sort of use my imagination, you know, is the best thing. I mean, you could call me lazy and an idiot, and that's true. But I was being lazy, but I was also sort of getting to play and entertain myself and find out things that I liked and find out things that I liked about media, music, entertainment. And it was a great time for me. I'm not a person, I don't do well with books. Because of my ADD, ADHD, it's hard for me to read, unfortunately, because I love books when I read them, but it's hard to read them. I can't really do it, if that makes any sense to anybody. But it's awful because I love stories, and even a story I like, I could read 2 pages and then I just get aggravated and I can't keep going. It's very strange. So I really love movies and stories on TV. I like writing, but I just can't read very well. I mean, I can read, but it's like I can't read a book. If that makes any sense. So that's when Enterprise was on TV, and I had skipped the first season because I didn't think it was going to be good, and it looked weird to me, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to be good. And that's when I just saw an episode one day, and the episode I saw on TV was Carbon Creek, I believe. And I saw another episode, and I said, Jesus, this is actually, I really like this. And so, in fact, you know what? I don't think it was Carbon Creek that I saw first, but Carbon Creek was one of the ones that solidified it for me, where I went, wow, okay, you know what? This is really good. And probably Carbon Creek is probably one of the best episodes of Enterprise, but it doesn't matter. I ended up loving these characters, loving the show. And by season 3, I watched every episode that aired by season 3. So every episode of season 3 I saw when it aired exactly. So season 3 and 4 I was watching live on TV. But seasons 1 and most of 2 I missed. And I remember because they were on UPN, and wrestling was on UPN as well. WWE SmackDown was on UPN also. And I was obviously watching wrestling at the time. And so it was like this cool crossover of Star Trek, which was my favorite thing, and then wrestling, which is my other favorite thing. And it's like they were both on the same network. So that was really cool to me. And they did some crossovers with some of the wrestlers acting on Enterprise and things like that. So those are my memories a little bit, just getting into it a bit. I mean, we could really go into the DVDs and some more things, and I will in another video for sure. But just off the top of my head, when people say they don't like Enterprise, I understand them because I didn't either at first. I thought the theme song was bizarre. I was like, what the hell is this theme song? But then now I love the theme song. I'm one of the people that likes the theme song now. I love it. I actually love it. And maybe it's the nostalgia. But I have a lot of nostalgia for Enterprise because watching Enterprise makes me think of watching Enterprise and playing Halo 2 and beating Halo 2 and just playing it online constantly. And I would binge Enterprise seasons 1 and 2 until it finally aired live, and I would watch 3 and 4, and we were still playing a lot of Halo, playing Diablo, just playing computer games and just being a loser geek at the time. And so I have great memories of Enterprise. So it's fun that I have a nostalgia and great memories for Enterprise in my late teens, early 20s, and that I have great nostalgia for Star Trek The Next Generation from my childhood of 4 years old to 13 years old. So, and then also in between all that time, going back and watching the original series, and then, of course, loving the original series movies back then. So there's so many time periods that that I have nostalgia for. It feels like yesterday that Enterprise was this new show that was on, and I was enjoying it. It's almost crazy that it's the year 2023, and Enterprise has been off the air for like 18 years. I mean, that's just wild. But even if you don't like the opening theme song to Enterprise, which, by the way, if you could go back in time and change that, I wonder what the viewership would be. Because my wife did not watch the series because of the theme song. She literally told me that. And I said to her, I was the same thing. I didn't watch because of the theme song. The theme song was like, what is this? And then it started, and I went, okay, I'm out of this. I literally am the same as her. But I eventually accidentally gave it another shot. And I realized I liked it. My wife, though, never did. Until one day I was watching it randomly, and she happened to see it, and she kind of got a little interest. And then she ended up watching it, and she kind of likes it. So how many other people didn't watch Enterprise because of that theme? So I like Brandon Braga and Rick Berman. They did all the Star Trek we love. Rick Berman is the reason, via Gene Roddenberry. So I wonder what would have happened if the theme song hadn't have been what it was, and it had been like a regular Star Trek theme song. Would it have done better? I think the answer might be yes, because so many people say that they turned it off as soon as they heard the theme. So that's a huge blunder that, hindsight 2020, but I mean, if I was working at CBS or at whatever, UPN at the time, whatever it was, and you showed me the show, I would have said, dude, we got to get rid of that theme song. Absolutely. And we probably would have if I had any say. And that might have saved the show a little to give it more time on the air, maybe. Maybe. But I don't know. But now I like the theme, so I'm glad it's there. And I understand what Rick Berman was saying. But one thing we can all agree on is that the closing titles, Archer's song or Archer's theme, is wonderful. That theme at the end is awesome. It's beautiful. And it sounds like classic TV. And one of the things about the music on Enterprise, not only the opening theme, but even the music to the outro, the da 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 da. It's that was terrible, but it sounds like the 90s, So it sounds a bit dated, and I think that was a problem. It was on a young UPN network, and the music was dated, and it was Star Trek, so it was already kind of like, it was just, Star Trek had just kind of faded at that point. But for me, I was back into it. So I had faded out of Star Trek for, like I said, 1997 to probably the year 2000, 2001. But around that time, I was coming back, and I came back to Star Trek and ended up loving it again after taking 4 years off or so. But the rest of the world didn't. They were moving on to other things, and I think like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all these other things were, kind of crushing it. And Star Trek was kind of like, it reached its heights in like 1993. Star Trek was 1992 to 1996 or so. Star Trek was just the thing, bro. It was awesome. It wasn't the thing, but it was like we belonged for once. Do you know what I mean? Like we felt like we're all Star Trek people. We're in this smaller niche market. But in 1993 to about 1993 to 1996, Star Trek was like, it was mainstream, but it was actually mainstream. Star Trek's always been mainstream in the way that, you know, people know what Beam Me Up is, and people know Star Trek. They know that name, but it never feels like it's taking over a pop culture, or it's really in pop culture, you know. But it did from 1993 to 1996. For those 3 years or so. Like season 7 of Star Trek The Next Generation to First Contact Star Trek's movie, The Next Generation's movie, it just was everywhere. You could drop anything anywhere and people would be like, oh yeah, you know, you were cool. But by 2001, it was not really cool anymore. People still know Star Trek, and the funny thing is, at that time, yeah, it was just different. It's, if you were around, you know what we're talking about. You know, if you're older than 35, you know what I'm talking about. But I ended up loving Enterprise, and Enterprise has now become my second favorite show, which is very interesting. And I'm going to be doing some Deep Space Nine reviews on this channel because Deep Space Nine I watched the least out of anything. And I know there's huge Deep Space Nine fans out there that always say to me, it's the best one. I don't agree with that. It's not ever going to be the best Star Trek for me, but I do like it. Whereas back in the day, I didn't really like it, so I never really watched it, but it was on, and I would watch episodes and leave it on in the background and stuff like that, and I just never fully got into it. And then I really checked it out when Worf went on to the show. But, you know, I watched Voyager, though. I watched all of Voyager. But I've been happy about the fact that I always kind of never fully saw Deep Space Nine from the beginning to the end, and that I barely remember a lot of it, because the best thing about that is now that I've been seemingly starved for Star Trek until Star Trek Picard Season 3, which is amazing, I have been able to go back and watch Deep Space Nine and enjoy it. And I've been recording reviews of my first watches of Deep Space Nine, and those are going to come up on here, although I've been delayed in putting them up, but they are coming. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And, again, that's about it, man. I just thought I'd ramble about Star Trek here as we, get ready for what we're going to see from Picard Season 3, episode number 9 tonight. I am very pumped up for it, man. And if you guys want to support my channel, besides subscribing down below, clicking the like button, subscribing, we need 1,000 subs. You guys can support me on my other places, patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show or paypal.me/Joe Cronin Show. Or you can use my link pinned to the comments down below for Amazon, which you will get the $9 off. For this, it's a Bluetooth Enterprise D. It's unbelievably cool. And it's a Bluetooth speaker, and it plays the sound effects and everything of the ship. It is a fun time. It's been out for a bit, but it's now you got $9 off. Use my link down below. And thanks for watching Star Trek Late Night, and we will see you for the review of episode 9 of Picard Season 3. What do you guys think about all of this? Leave comments down below. Love to read them. See what you guys are saying. And if you've stayed this long, write how about this? Captain Archer is my dad. Put that in the comments down below. All right? Enjoy if you're staying up late tonight. And stay off of Twitter and stay off of YouTube, too, for the most part. Stay away from spoilers. I am telling you, especially if you are going to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm going to watch it later. And then you start browsing your feed. Don't do it.